It started with a letter. A thin white envelope, slipped under my door, like some kind of declaration of war. Notice of violation, Homeowners Association of Willow Creek Estates. I remember staring at it, thinking it was probably a mistake. I didn't live in Willow Creek Estates. I lived on my land that my grandfather had bought in the 1960s, long before anyone thought of carving the forest into cul-de-sacs and calling it a luxury community. But as I unfolded that letter, my pulse quickened. The HOA claimed I owed them $150,000. For what? They listed unauthorized modifications, improper structures, and non-conforming use of property. In plain words, they were fining me because I dared to build a cabin on the property my family had owned for over half a century. At first, I laughed. It had to be a clerical error. Some overzealous Karen on a committee had mixed up an address. But the more I read, the less funny it became. They weren't asking, they were demanding. They gave me 30 days to pay, or they threatened foreclosure. On land that didn't even belong to them. That's when I knew, this wasn't a mistake. This was a battle. The next day, I drove down the neatly paved entrance road of Willow Creek Estates. The neighborhood looked like something out of a magazine, identical brick mansions with perfectly manicured lawns, SUVs in every driveway, American flags flying on porches. And then there was me, pulling up in my muddy pickup, boots still dusty from splitting firewood. Heads turned, curtains twitched. By the time I parked near the HOA office, a converted house at the center of the cul-de-sac, 3 people were already waiting. The ringleader was a woman in her late 40s, hair dyed the color of rust, lips pursed like she'd tasted something sour. She had a clipboard clutched to her chest like a weapon. "Can I help you?" she asked in a voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I got this letter," I said, holding it up. "There's been a mistake. My land isn't part of Willow Creek." Her eyes narrowed. "Everything within the Willow Creek Estate's boundaries is subject to HOA rules." "That's where you're wrong," I said. "This land has been in my family since before this neighborhood even existed." She smiled then, but it wasn't kind. "You'll find it easier if you comply. Otherwise, the fines will keep accumulating. And believe me, we will win in court." Her arrogance hit me like a slap. They thought they could bully me into submission. I left without another word, but inside, something had ignited. Because what the HOA didn't know, was that I had something they hadn't bothered to check. The deed, a yellowing piece of paper locked in my grandfather's old metal box, tucked away in my cabin. The document was clear as day. Not only did my family own the land my cabin sat on, but the property line extended far beyond what anyone in Willow Creek imagined. I didn't just own my cabin. I owned their entire neighborhood. Every cul-de-sac, every street, every house they thought they ruled. All of it sat on land still under my family's deed. And suddenly, their $150,000 fine didn't scare me anymore. I spent the next week digging. My grandfather had warned me, years ago, that one day developers might come sniffing around, trying to take what wasn't theirs. That's why he had kept every survey map, every legal description, every notarized copy. The truth was undeniable. The developers who built Willow Creek had made a catastrophic mistake. Instead of buying the full tract of land, they had leased portions from a company that never legally owned it. The HOA's precious neighborhood wasn't built on land they owned. It was mine. I didn't go to them right away. I wanted to be sure. So I hired a property lawyer. The kind who didn't flinch when I told him the story. His eyes lit up like he'd struck gold. "Son," he said, tapping the deed with his finger. "This isn't just a defense. This is checkmate." The following HOA meeting was packed. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I walked in anyway. Gasps and whispers filled the room. Rust-hair Karen was at the head of the table, flipping through papers. When she saw me, her nostrils flared. "You can't just walk in here," she snapped. "Actually, I can," I said calmly, laying the deed on the table. "Because this whole neighborhood, this land you think you own, it's mine." Silence. A stunned, suffocating silence. She laughed. Too loud, too shrill. "That's ridiculous. This community was developed 20 years ago. You can't just." But my lawyer slid forward the certified survey maps, county records, and notarized documents. Every face in that room changed. Their smug confidence drained into pale disbelief. I leaned forward. "You fined me $150,000 for building a cabin on my land. But here's the thing, I could fine you. Every single one of you. For trespassing. For unpaid leases. For using land that doesn't belong to you." Karen sputtered. Why you can't do that? Oh, I can, I said. Legally, you're all tenants. And I'm the landlord. The room erupted in chaos, voices overlapping, people shouting questions, some demanding proof, others turning on Karen. But I just stood there, calm as stone. Because for once, they were the ones with everything to lose. Over the next month, the story spread like wildfire. Neighbors who once looked down on me now came knocking, desperate, begging for reassurance. Some offered money, others apologies. Families panicked, wondering if they would lose their homes. And Karen, she tried to fight. She filed motions, sent letters, even called me a squatter in front of local news cameras. But every time, the law came down on my side. The HOA crumbled. Their power evaporated. One by one, board members resigned, unable to handle the pressure. In the end, I didn't evict anyone. That wasn't what I wanted. But I dissolved the HOA permanently, and as the final nail in their coffin, I mailed a single letter to every resident of Willow Creek. Effective immediately, the HOA is disbanded. There will be no more fines. No more harassment. Live freely, because this land doesn't belong to them. It belongs to me, and I say you're free. The messages I got back were overwhelming. Tears, gratitude, relief. But the sweetest moment was when I saw Karen, standing in her perfect driveway, clutching her clipboard like it could still protect her. She wouldn't even look at me. She tried to destroy me with a $150,000 fine. Instead, she lost an empire. Because she forgot the most important rule of all. Don't wage war on someone who owns the ground beneath your feet.